Podcast Studios.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sara Jones. For this episode, I got to hang out with Chicago comic Adam Kwaselow. Adam Kwaselow has been writing jokes since he was 9 years old and funny since he was 24. He was a producer, host, and lead writer of What the Hypnotics, a hip-hop themed comedy game show at Chicago's Laugh Factory for more than a year, and is a frequent guest of WrestleZone. He is afraid of bees. Adam and I got to visit the site of the notorious St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago. This was a major gang-related event and is a huge part of Chicago's sordid history. As always, be sure to check out the Instagram for pictures that go along with this episode. You can find us with the handle @LitDarkPodcast. Here's the episode. I hope you have some fun. So we are in, we're in a little park.
Yeah, so we're outside of an old folks home. There's some benches here. This is probably where they walk them.
Where they walk the old people on their leashes.
They got to get exercise and they need to poop. And we are in the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago.
Yep.
And yeah, it's starting to get windy. It's almost like the city has a nickname or something.
That's right. Oh my God.
And 3 people are gonna write in saying it's political. I fucking know. I live here.
How is it political being the windy city?
Oh, the politicians are all full of air. Yeah, it's real dumb. Just about anything that cities are proud of is real dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know Novi, Michigan. You know how it got its name, right?
No.
It was train station number 6.
Novi.
N-O-V-I.
N-O-V-I. Cool.
It's very, very dumb. You know what I've been thinking about, though? Since all ghosts were people once, what if we just figure out what they want to binge watch on Netflix? We'll be fine.
Yeah. You ask them and then you get a recording back. Like, what's that called? An EVP?
Or we just the rattling starts. I put on Futurama. Okay, still going. This clearly didn't work. What if I try Seinfeld? And then when it stops and I'm like, oh, okay, the ghost like this. That's just what you watch for the
That's how you... Oh, the wind really picked up of that.
Yeah.
That's how you build rapport. You're building rapport with the spirits here.
Agree.
Awesome. And I mean, ironically, we're at an old folks' home. We're at the site of a lot of future ghosts.
Yes.
So that's,
Well, although I can't imagine a lot of people here have unfinished business.
Why?
Because it's an old folks home.
They already take them out to do their business.
Yeah, it's an old folks home. They've done most of it. Like, their unfinished business is going to be like, oh, I never got to see how Better Call Saul ends. So, I mean, you see the ghosts in the ghost movies. A lot of them, most of them died in like their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
There's never, he died in his 90s, and who am I?
Well, sometimes there's like old people ghosts.
Oh, there's ghosts that need walkers?
Well, no, not anymore.
Okay. Is that like when you die, it's just like the rigor mortis repairs your ACL and...
But you still appear like an old creepy man?
You still appear like an old creepy man with all of your athleticism back.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome.
Okay, yeah. Because in death, your hip doesn't rub up against the bone. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, that's just science.
Okay.
Okay, so...
We're making scientific breakthroughs.
Yeah, we
today.
are. Yeah, that's just what we do.
Please don't peer review this. Now, what I can tell the listeners, just to set the scene, because we did mention that, we're on a bench in like almost a park area outside of an old folks' home. There are also plenty of rat traps on the ground.
Where?
See that black box over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for rats. So That is, and there's some bushes out there that have lost their leaves, which is unsettling because it's summer. But
well, sometimes old folks, they get brawly.
That is true, and that's probably where they dispose of the poops when they walk them.
The rat traps.
Yeah, rats love old people poop and peanut butter.
Really?
Oh, they love peanut butter. Yeah, that's they tell you to put that in a mousetrap instead of cheese.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
The cheese is just a cartoon thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the fucking rat stereotype.
Yeah, but I mean, who doesn't love peanut butter?
Yeah. Also, stereotypes hurt people, so don't stereotype rats anymore.
No, they fucking don't like cheese that much.
No, and every time you are, you're just you're spitting on their struggle, and it's racist, honestly.
It is racist. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Well, I just want to make sure that your podcast is as woke as possible.
Yeah, well, it's coming out of Portland, so.
Yeah.
For now.
I was in Portland like 2 months ago, saw an old friend of mine, and we were talking about somebody who used to live in Chicago, and he kept using gender-neutral pronouns, and I was like, oh, I didn't know they were gender non-binary now. He was like, no, they're not. It's Portland.
Yeah. All right, so do you want to get into this story?
I do.
So aside from just being at the site of an old folks home in a very windy Chicago evening, this is also the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Ooh. Somebody had a more eventful Valentine's Day than me.
Yes, definitely. So in the 1920s, Chicago was an environment of corruption and lawlessness.
Still is.
Yeah, the perfect breeding ground for organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
The city's population grew exponentially due to a number of successful city events and job opportunities for immigrants as the city grew, and law enforcement simply could not keep up with the booming expansion.
And the fact that Al Capone was paying them off.
We'll get into that.
Oh, good. Sorry, that's what we like to call foreshadowing in the storytelling business.
That being said, many of the politicians and members of the police force in Chicago at the time were corrupted as well. Eager to accept bribes, only aiding in the efforts of organized mobsters. Often, gangsters found that they could team up with law enforcement by way of bribery and could thus gain immunity from legal consequences.
Which is weird because that happens in every movie. The writer of it was like, hey, I have an original thought.
Yeah.
What if we made the police officers corrupt?
Who could ever see it coming?
I know, right?
Most of these gang members amassed unbelievable amounts of money by bootlegging and alcohol production during Prohibition in order to afford to pay such bribes. Around 1920, one such mobster found his way to Chicago. Born in Brooklyn, New York, to an immigrant family, this man was accepted into a prominent gang in New York before being invited to Chicago by the street gang's leader, Johnny Torrio. Torrio? Do you know if there's do you know who that is?
Let me see. I haven't heard the name.
Torrio? Torrio.
So if that's Italian, it would just be Torrio.
Torrio, okay. Johnny Torrio.
They don't roll their R's, but if there's two consonants together, it's emphasize that sound.
Like what? Like what's the word?
Instead of Torrio, Torrio.
Torrio.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's who he was. He was the gang leader in New York, and he invited this mobster to Chicago. Thus, this is how notorious gangster, guess his name.
Oh, wait, hang on. It was Weird Al Capone.
Al Scarface Capone found his way to Chicago, Illinois.
Was his nickname not Weird Al?
No.
Wait, then who's...
Are you kidding or are you serious?
I am absolutely kidding.
Oh my God, thank God.
My first 3 concerts were Weird Al.
My first concert was Weird Al too.
Weird Al is the only pure good in this world.
That's pretty true.
Yeah. I just needed to give him a shout out.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Because he is as influential to the world as Al Capone.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, Torrio had become an influential lieutenant in the South Side Colosimo mob. Sorry for fucking up all of these guys. Colosimo?
Yeah, Colosimo.
Okay. So Torrio had become an influential lieutenant in the South Side Colosimo mob in Chicago and had recruited Al Capone to help him in the illegal brewing and distillation and distribution of beer and liquor during Prohibition.
For those of you keeping track, Prohibition was a mistake.
Obviously, yeah. And this is why.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, members of the Colosimo mob, I almost said band. Members of their little group of friends.
We are Colosimo!
Good night, Chicago! Meanwhile, members of the Colosimo mob became affiliated with public officials, labor unions, and employees associations with legitimate business interests in cleaning and dyeing. Dyeing, D-Y-E-I-N-G.
Oh, okay, I was about to say. They normally call that waste management.
Well, true, in Detroit.
Yeah, well, also here. That's just a mob term.
Yeah, but the Detroit waste management used to be run by the mob.
Oh, I'm sure every city's waste management used to be run by the mob.
Yeah, but you're from Detroit, right? Or Metro Detroit. Did you know that?
Really, when it comes to waste management stories in Detroit, the mob is not the first thing I think of. Yeah. The first thing I think of is Kwame Kilpatrick.
Yeah. No, he was involved in the same mob from the waste management.
Okay, good.
The leader of that, the leader of that mob has the most, it sounds like a fake name. His name is Tony Suave. For real.
Tony.
Tony Suave. Tony Suave. Yeah, exactly. You gotta look it up. I'm serious.
Also, just real quick, Kwame Kilpatrick tangent. There's a kid I went to high school with who, every 2 or 3 years, tries to message me about taking the red pill.
Oh, Jesus.
And he, one time the message was like...
Wait, isn't the red pill, men taking their freedom back from women? Yeah.
Men going their own way and men calling it another lonely day. He, one message was like, you could be a leader. I brought Kwame Kilpatrick to our school to speak. This was way after we all knew he was corrupt. He was like, you could be a leader of the movement. I can't because of my job, but you can be.
Oh, my God.
It's one of my favorite pieces of literature I've ever been sent. Also, just remember, everybody, women are people.
Yeah, and write that down, actually, just to maybe on your mirror, so every morning you can remind yourself.
This will be on the test.
This will be on the test, yeah. All right, so eventually, Torrio became the leader of the Colosimo mob in Chicago after he orchestrated the violent demise of then mob leader Big Jim Colosimo. I can't fucking say that word.
Big Jim?
Yeah, that's getting me.
It's just sound it out. You'll be okay.
And so Capone was Torrio's strong right arm during this execution, basically, of Big Jim Colosimo. Okay, so Capone would go on to become leader of the gang when Torrio became seriously wounded in an assassination attempt, and then retired to Brooklyn. By this time, Capone had gained a fearsome reputation as a ruthless criminal.
Wait, Al Capone was a criminal?
Depends on who you ask.
Okay. Sorry, was he a criminal?
No, he was just a full-on criminal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right, so no air quotes.
No air quotes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Do you ever wonder why they called Al Capone Scarface?
Was there a scar on his face?
Yes. It goes, that's it. That's why.
I really hope that one of the fun fact, Al Capone was named Scarface because he had a scar on his face.
Oh shit, that makes sense. I guess that makes perfect sense.
Shoeless Joe Jackson got his name from not having any shoes.
You just can't make this shit up. Well, I wondered, so I looked it up. So back in 1917 at the Harvard Inn, Capone insulted a female patron and her brother retaliated, slashing his face during a fight and leaving him with 3 indelible scars.
And then he used to intimidate people by saying, you know how I got this scar?
Actually, to the contrary, Capone tried to shield his scars in photographs and hated his famous nickname, which was given to him by the press after he had achieved prominence as a notorious gangster in Chicago.
Okay.
The criminals who worked with Capone referred to him as the big fellow, while his personal friends called him Snorky.
What? Hang on. Was Al Capone a character on the Snorks and I just never realized this?
Well, I guess Snorky was a slang term that meant spiffy at the time. Like spiffy, like well-dressed.
Al Capone was one of the Snorks.
No, yeah.
Holy shit.
Could you actually just call him Snorky Capone from now on? Because I just want to be respectful.
Weird Al Snorkovich.
So Al Snorkface. Al Snorkface Capone's Southside Italian gang was a known rival to the Irish gangster, or the gang of the Irish gangster George Bugs Moran.
Okay.
So
now, how snorky was Bugs Moran?
I think he was a snorker. I'm gonna have to.
Hold on. Are you allowed to say that?
I'm Irish, so I can.
Okay, I just wanted to. Because
Bugs was Irish. That's my safe. I'm safe.
We do not need this podcast getting backlash.
I'm sure it does mean something horrible, and now I'm gonna get backlash.
Can you believe she said the S word?
She called him a snorker? That's so disrespectful.
Yeah, I can only, look, I'm a Jew. I can only say S word here. I can't.
And then this snorker, I'm telling you what, pardon my Gaelic.
You know what? Look, I understand that you're allowed to say it, but it's still making me uncomfortable, so.
Okay, great. Anyway, so Bugs Moran's gang was on the north side. Al Capone had the Italian gang on the south side.
Okay, so Capone's gang was Sox fans.
Yeah.
And Moran's gang was Cubs fans. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
3 people will get that reference outside of Chicago, but it's okay.
Which 3?
I mean...
You're just generalizing.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were like, these 3 exact people.
All right, so it's going to be Brian outside the laundromat.
He knows all about that shit. All right, so on February 14th, Valentine's Day of 1929, 4 men believed to be members of Capone's gang famously ambushed 7 of Bugs Moran's men. Some of these words are hard. Words are hard to say.
Wait, so was Bugs Moran's gang, they were ambushed by Elmer Fudd's gang?
By Snorky's gang. You can call him Snorky. That's what his friends call him.
I can't call him Snorky. I'm just trying to... I just wanted to make the very bad Looney Tunes joke. That's what this... Yosemite Sam comes in later.
Yes, he does, actually.
Okay, good. Because his mustache was...
phenomenal. All right, so 4 men ambushed 7 of Bugs's men in a garage in Lincoln Park and ruthlessly executed them. They instructed the men to line up against a wall of the garage and literally desecrated their bodies, showering the men with hails of rounds from several Thompson submachine guns. Tommies.
Okay, this is...
violent.
Yeah, this is a nice little game. Now, are there pictures? Do we have the gory pictures?
There are pictures. So the pictures will be included in the Instagram, and we'll look at them after we're done recording. Okay. But guess where that happened? Right here. Where we're sitting.
Where we're sitting right now.
Where that old lady just went to shit.
That is incredible. And she was on a smoke break. She was just getting it all out.
She's like, oh yeah, you guys talking about bugs over here?
Yeah, good. Them shitting sounds for me. You know, some people turn on the faucet. Some people turn on a faucet to help them pee. She has people talking about the Valentine's Day Massacre to help her shit.
And she's like, keep going. I got a real nugget going.
You know what? It's only crazy if it doesn't work. So
that's true.
if it works, it's healthy. Normally she has to walk out here.
Crazy if it doesn't work.
Normally
is that the first time you've said that?
That I think was like a Budweiser slogan. But like she just comes out. She has her headphones on normally and just listens to people talk about. Is probably on like Ira Glass said something once.
Sure.
But today she got a special treat.
That's right, and so did we.
What's very funny to me is that now this place decidedly doesn't have a garage.
No, it's been leveled. Yeah, I'll get into that.
Ooh.
But so actually, I was just gonna say we were talking about it's only crazy if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Remember earlier before we started recording, I was telling you about some of the funny reasons people come into urgent care.
Yes.
The reasons that they check in.
The fun thing about this conversation before we started recording is that did actually happen, but she literally could have said anything. And this being her podcast, I'm going to say, yes, we talked about it.
You just are obligated. Yes, and?
Hey, do you remember before we started recording when you agreed to give me a kidney?
Can you sign this while we're recording here? This is an elaborate ruse. I'm making all this shit up about Valentine's Day murder.
If you could just... No, look, you said that you would break up my mother's wedding, and it's...
Don't say that. Mom, I'm so stoked you're getting married.
Again, that was an example of something that didn't happen. Don't worry, Sarah's mom. We talked about this. I was like, you need to vet the people your parents married. She was like, nah, this guy's cool.
That's true.
I'm trusting her on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
but if
he's the coolest.
if I find out he's on the up and up, I'm breaking up that marriage.
Wait! If anyone has something to say, speak now or hold your peace.
So y'all heard the podcast, right?
And everyone's like, what the fuck? Who are you? And you're like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out every day, but that's not the point. Is this the
right wedding? I'm not sure, but it feels right.
I don't know these people. It feels right and then it feels wrong.
I feel it like here.
Whatever might be here pointing at my heart, but something here is not feeling good about this.
My favorite thing is that both of us, when we do this, give me a Brooklyn accent. A place I have never been. I'm from a half hour outside of Detroit. I don't have a voice like that.
I mean, but you do the like old lady Jewish voice very well.
Thank
like that,
you.
like, yeah.
I was raised in it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where the Brooklyn is coming in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be guilt tripping you later with it. Oh no, you can't pick me up. That's fine. That's fine. I'll just, stay here at the airport. That's fine.
Till I rot.
There's that old joke. How many Jewish mothers does it take to screw a light bulb?
How many?
None. I'll just sit in the dark.
I'm not even Jewish, but that's the best. Okay. There was a bus
I
was gonna tell you.
right here with a picture of Al Capone on the back of it.
Holy shit! Yes, there is.
This is...
Wait, it's a crime tour.
Yeah, we are right now...
God.
A Chicago crime tour is lining up outside of this place.
Of course. Of course.
This old folks' home was the spot of a grisly murder.
You'll come down to the old folks' shitting quarters.
Now, who are their sources?
Me.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Everybody just got off the... Oh, okay, it's parking. It's parking.
Get the hell out of here. Don't ever tell anyone what you told you in there.
One of them's Al Capone. Who's on the right? Is that Dick Cavett?
I don't know who that... Well, that bush is covering it. I can't... What if it's Bugs?
Ooh, because Dick Cavett was a comedian in the 50s.
Oh, I don't know who that is. But what if that other guy's Bugs?
Yeah, what if that's Al Capone?
Look up what Bugs Moran looks like. Let's see if that's him.
Okay, yeah.
I watched a whole documentary on him, but I don't remember what he looks like. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so the bus just parked. Should we have every single person on that bus on the podcast?
No. Individually interview them?
Yes.
Personally, I didn't like the tour.
All right, Bugs Moran, that might be him, but he looks a little bit fatter than the guy on that bus.
Wait. Yeah, that doesn't really look like it's him, does it? Oh, but maybe. Look at the front of his face.
I mean, you know what? They slimmed down Capone. Nah, that doesn't
really look like him, does it?
Hang on. Bugs
Moran looks like such a happy man. Wait, did you spell it right?
Yeah. Oh, wait, why am I meant to look up Whitey Bulger and wrote Whitey Ford, who...
Isn't Whitey Bulger in Detroit?
I don't remember where he was, but Whitey Ford was a pitcher for the Yankees.
Is that Whitey?
No, that's not Whitey at all.
Weird.
I mean, he's white.
So basically we're thinking it's an Irish mobster.
Hang on. It's a crime tour. No, that's still too skinny to be Gacy.
No.
If you want...
It's a Chicago crime tour. Is it H.H. Holmes?
Hang on.
It's probably H.H. Holmes.
Did you just say it's not Gacy because it's Chicago crime tours?
Wasn't Gacy in Wisconsin?
No, that's Dahmer.
Oh, I thought Gacy was in Wisconsin.
No, Gacy was Chicago. However, there was a bar in Chicago that Dahmer used to drink at.
Oh. Wait, do you think it's H.H. Holmes? That's who I bet that is.
H.H.
That's totally who that is. L-M-E-S. Can I go talk to... Well, no, maybe not.
No, that's not H.H. Holmes. He doesn't have the mustache.
I'm going to go ask them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to come with you just so I'm not standing here in a courtyard.
Yeah.
All right, so we have separated, so I can kind of say whatever I want, and she won't know about it until Randy edits this. But L&L Tavern is a bar that Dahmer famously used to drink at, and it has a terrible comedy show at it called Red Lobster. I can say that because the whole point is that it's terrible. Oh, it's Dillinger. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, hey, shut up. Shut up, you guys. Shut up, this is an emergency. Okay, but wait. This tangent started when I said, speaking of, earlier you said it's only crazy if it doesn't work, right? Okay. One of the reasons someone checked into urgent care one time, I think this is fine to say because it's not saying names or anything, but someone once checked into urgent care and the reason was, patient has an earache. She tried squirting breast milk into it, but it only made it bleed.
Wow. That is one of 2 breast milk stories I've heard this year. The other is the Jay Cutler one. Have you heard about this?
No.
So his wife, Kristen Cavallari.
Okay.
And
who are those people?
So Jay Cutler used to be quarterback for the Bears.
Okay.
Kristen Cavallari was like on Laguna Beach and like a bunch of...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now she has the show Very Cavallari. Well, after they had a kid, she had been breastfeeding. They went on like vacation. And she didn't pump while she was on vacation. Mm-hmm. So when they got back, her ducts were clogged. And he...
Oh, no.
Unclogged them.
Oh, no.
With his mouth.
Do you think like a hard chunk came out of him?
So what he said is just, it wasn't like a chunk came out. He was like, look, when they started flowing, they started flowing. Although to be fair, that's a man sucking his wife's nipples. That's beautiful when you think about it. That's a healthy marriage.
Yes. But also, do you think a hard chunk of milk came out to unclog the ducts?
Now, again, I can only go by what I've heard. From what I've heard, there was no hard... It was just something happened.
You have no hard evidence.
Yeah,
I'm sure something got hard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Second baby on the way.
Yeah.
But supposedly it was just, it got stopped up.
Yeah.
And he just had to get the flow going again.
Sure.
And, I mean, maybe it's like the crusty stuff that was on a milk cap, but I can't imagine she wouldn't have felt that.
Whoa. I hate it. So gross.
Yeah. Although, hey, it had a happy ending.
Yeah, I bet it did.
He got a mouthful of a happy ending. So
I bet she did too.
it's later that night.
Okay, great. Where were we? Oh.
Touchdown!
Yeah.
Also, just in case people weren't aware, we did spend 5 minutes trying to figure out the second face on the back of a bus.
And it was Dillinger.
It was John Dillinger, who I once had a bad date on a movie about him. So.
Oh.
Public Enemy?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was.
I know it's like a really famous movie, but I've never seen it.
It's not that famous.
Really?
I don't think it is. I mean, if you ask somebody to name 5 Johnny Depp movies, they're not naming Public Enemy.
Public Enemy? Why was I thinking that was like a really popular movie? Whatever.
Maybe the band Public Enemy?
Maybe that's why I'm thinking of that. But I thought,
decidedly not made up of John Dillinger.
For the Dillinger Escape Plan. There's all kinds of bands about. Okay, great. So. Oh, yeah. All right. So they had these men line up, and they just hailed them with bullets.
Okay.
Desecrated them. At least 2 of the men were said to have been wearing police uniforms, 2 of the men shooting, while the others were dressed in suits, ties, overcoats, and hats.
You know, you gotta be looking your snorkiest when you're committing a murder.
That's true. Yeah, that's like kind of the first rule. It's Snorky's gang. Yeah. Like, how do you think... The crime has never been solved, though it is speculated that the men were either all members of Capone's gang, or perhaps men from Capone's South Side Italian gang were joined together with police officers allegedly seeking revenge for the killing of a police officer's son.
Now, again, that crime has never been solved, so it's Tupac, it's Biggie, and it's a Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yes, those are the only 3 unsolved crimes.
The unsolvable mysteries.
When officers arrived at the scene, they found victim Frank Gussenberg, an American contract killer, still alive. After he was taken to the hospitals and doctors had attempted to stabilize him, officers tried to question him. Though he had sustained 14 bullet wounds, he simply said, "No one shot me."
That is fantastic.
I love it. He died 3 hours later.
How? No one shot him?
That remains a mystery. It's part of the mystery.
Nobody shot him. How does...
It's 14 times.
Yeah. 14, nobody's shot him.
Yeah. In the end, 7 men were killed by 70 rounds of ammunition. On the 14th of February, 4 divided by 2 is 7. 2, 14, 70 rounds of ammunition, 7 men were killed. Just a number. Fun game.
Jim Carrey will find a way to bring this back to 23.
Well, times 3, it's 21.
14 times. Somebody please do some crazy math and send it in.
Randy, do some math. Just kidding.
Do some and like put some hieroglyphics in it and send it to Sarah's home address, along with one of
written in blood.
Along with one of your favorite fingers.
This is what I pay you for, Randy.
Randy, if you are not cutting off your finger right fucking now, you better be cutting off somebody else's.
And now he's probably thinking about who it would be.
That's right. He's thinking, ooh, is there a ring on that one?
He has to think of that first person that he's like, I guess it would have to be this person.
And he just texted somebody like, hey, can you do me a weird favor?
Can I get your hand in something? I need a hand.
Can I have one of your fingers for a minute?
Are you using that?
It's a fucking pinky. What are you going to do with it?
Come on. Don't be such a baby. It's only going to hurt for like 1 minute. I'll give you Neosporin.
Exactly. Look, you won't feel it when it's not there anymore.
How can your finger hurt? It's gone.
Yeah. Look,
I got it.
Although I do one time in high school, I got kicked in like one ball and the other felt sympathy pain, so I actually get that.
God.
Yeah, they're very close.
Well, there is also phantom limb pain. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Phantom finger pain. My finger itches. I don't have a finger. You know what phantom limb pain is, right? Yeah.
Although you working in urgent care, I'm sure you know way more. Like, I just know, hey, sometimes like my arm hurts. I don't have an arm.
Yeah, right? That's what it is.
Okay.
Or itches, or, you know. Yeah.
Or it gets like that weird, like, slept on it feeling.
Yeah, I think that. Although, to be fair, I don't know about that because I'm a phlebotomist in urgent care. I just am interested in neuroscience.
Okay.
Like
you know what's a weird neuroscience thing? You ever hear about Dave Mustaine from Megadeth? So
I know who he is.
He had this thing with his hand. It's called like Saturday Night Palsy or Lover's Palsy or something.
Oh.
Like it has multiple names. Where he can bend his fingers with his palm pointed up, but he couldn't bend them with his palm pointed down.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Like that, like he had to get extensive like physical therapy for that. But that's a thing that can go wrong, where you can bend your fingers with your palm pointed one way and not the other.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is good fodder for your future podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one.
This is also great fodder for Valentine's Day Massacre because none of those men can bend their fingers anymore. So
unless they're bending them with the fishes. Just kidding. They didn't.
I'm going to let you stew in that one for a minute.
You're like, why don't you take a seat over there by the rat traps? I think you need a moment.
Why don't you go walking, old dude?
Go walking, old dude. You just grab them.
You just pull out WAG right now.
They're ready for the walking at any time. You just
Clarence is ready for a walk.
I'm ready for my walking.
Do you think like the old dudes are just like scratching at the door?
Like a cat.
It's time to go out.
Circling around the door.
If we go in there and say outside, do you think they'll be like running towards us?
Yeah, I think they will.
Okay.
I do think if we walk inside that they'll be like, no jumping.
They're gonna have those little like.
They're licking our face.
They're gonna have those little barriers set up.
The like child locks. Oh my God. I'm staying with my brother right now. And I told you, I was like brutally hungover today when I drove into Chicago from Detroit. I get to my brother's house. He has 2 little kids. Nobody's home right now. But I get there, and I'm kind of like unpacking all my stuff or whatever, and I go upstairs, and there's a little child fence on the stairs, and I am so hungover and also just kind of dumb anyway. So I'm just like, how the fuck? Like, it took me like an embarrassing amount, like almost 5 minutes to be like, oh, this comes up here. Because it's baby proof.
You had to work out a Rube Goldberg child lock.
Yeah, barely. It was like, oh, you just lift this part.
You had to press over a domino that hit a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like a haunted painting had to cry 3 times onto like a tray. And then that would tip something else over.
You had to find 3 spots in the room where it looks like it's looking at you.
And stand in all of them till it was like ding. Ding.
You had to wait until it looked like the eyes shifted in the painting. And
then I had to take a quick math test.
Yeah. You had to say the alphabet backwards.
And walk in a straight line.
And then you had to learn Cantonese. And then
I was like, oh, that was it? Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell David that. He's going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'd be like, it was hard. It's baby proof.
Like, can you leave me instructions? Please?
He did have to explain to me where his key was. And he called me at the time I should have been there. And he goes, hey, was everything okay? And I was like, I'm 2 minutes from your house. And he explained to me again where the key was. I think because he knows that I'm a little flighty.
Yeah.
So like, I thought it would have been really funny if I called him back and was like, yeah, I found the key. I got it. How do you open this Fisher-Price?
Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and every shirt you brought is going to have a note pinned to it on how to work the child lock.
If you ever want to see your precious black tank top again.
Just a fucking ransom note.
It's like Saw. Okay, wake up.
If you ever want to see my front door again. Do you want to play a game? Hidden in your dresser is a key.
Yeah. And then I open the dresser and there's like 40 keys and like a bunch of needles and shit. And I'm like, what? Dave? How did you do this? You're not even home. And he's like, that's not my house. And I'm like, what?
We're going to need to copyright this or they're going to steal it for the next Saw movie. They are so out of ideas.
Totally. Yeah, it's bad. The first one was phenomenal, though.
Oh, yeah. The first one was great. And then, like, so did you see the movie Escape Room? Because it was basically Saw 2 without the gore.
Yeah, I saw parts of it. I think I got bored in it, actually.
I liked Escape Room, but then they just stapled 4 endings together.
Oh.
But yeah, Saw is a series that, like, they get a little bit deeper and then start forgetting the premise of their own movie.
Yeah.
So it's
Did you ever see Cube?
Not yet. I need to.
Cube is a fantastic movie. It's a little older. But
Cube. From what I know, Cube is a movie where knowing math saves your life.
Basically, yeah. But it's a similar panic type of I guess not escape room, but like a little it's good. You should see it. Okay. So that one guy's just like, no one shot me, and then he dies. In the end, 7 men were killed. Oh yeah, I talked about the number thing, which wasn't fascinating to you. It seemed like.
No, it just gets down to the number 23 eventually.
Yeah, it's like 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like it's still always going to end up at 23.
Look, I'm just saying that 9 plus 1 plus 1 is 11. 9, 11.
Illuminati. Hello. Okay. It's believed that Bugs Moran was intended as a target of attack, but managed to escape by ducking into a nearby coffee shop and avoiding the entire ordeal.
And that is why we have so many Starbucks in Chicago.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Because of all of the mobsters trying to evade attack.
Now that I think about it, he went into a Pete's Coffee, so...
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. You're like, obviously it's not true.
Pete's Coffee, if you want to take this and run with it, you can send residuals to it.
I didn't know Pete's Coffee was out here. I thought that was just on the West Coast for some reason.
I did have to. So there's a Chicago comedian, Olivia Perry. She's very funny. And she is originally from, like, Arizona. And she one time mentioned Seattle's best on stage.
Oh.
And I had to be like, that is not a thing out here.
Oh,
like, if you're wondering why people didn't get that joke, it's because Seattle's best coffee is not a thing here.
Oh, is that just on the West Coast or something?
I gotta assume it's
or just in like the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
All right. So despite an exhaustive investigation, Al Capone was never charged in the murder or conspiracy to murder. He was not present during the violent attack. In fact, he was in his home in Florida at the time. Nobody was ever convicted of the crime that shook Chicago. After the St. Valentine's Day massacre, pressure increased tremendously, and Capone soon was labeled as public enemy number 1, becoming the target of multiple federal investigations. However, it wasn't the FBI that ultimately took down the notorious crime boss, but rather the IRS.
Same with Heidi Fleiss.
Who's that?
Oh, she was like the Hollywood prostitute. Like all the dudes in Hollywood would come like fuck her, and it's basically what they do for anybody that they can't prove.
Yeah.
Any criminal who has stuff that they can't prove stuff on has committed tax evasion.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
It makes it an easy,
Like, Scott Peterson wasn't doing his taxes properly, I guarantee it.
Capone ultimately found himself behind bars for failing to pay his income taxes. Those with a morbid curiosity visiting this site have made it very difficult for shops to stay open here. It was once the site of an antique shop that was shut down shortly after opening. The entire warehouse where the massacre took place was torn down in 1967, and at this time, the bricks from the brick wall were purchased by a Canadian businessman who sold them for $1,000 a piece. Look at genius.
God damn.
That's rad.
I'm envious.
Well, don't be. Because, however, many of the bricks the businessman sold were returned to him because many of those who had purchased the gangland relics claimed that they were cursed. Divorce, disease, financial ruin, and even death were all misfortunate consequences attributed to the possession of these bricks.
Now, I just want to say, if the reason for those divorces wasn't that the bricks were cursed, it was that the dude spent $1,000 on a brick.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of it. Yeah, and the deaths could have been bricks being thrown at people's faces.
Yeah. You spent $1,000 on this?
Yeah. Someone died against it. You're gonna die against it.
Yeah.
You can still see 100 of the original bricks from the garage wall against which the gangsters were lined up and executed on display at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. Or if you get a chance to visit Chicago, you can come here and visit the site of Chicago's bloodiest memory.
And you can also walk an old dude named Clarence.
And please come by because Clarence has been needing a walk for quite some time.
His grandchildren have not visited.
Oh, wouldn't that be so sad if you were in a place like this and people weren't visiting you? We should probably go in and say hi.
We should go walk a few.
I think they encourage trespassers here, so I think we're fine.
Trespassers will be thanked.
Thank you for coming here. It's said that spirits of many of the men who were butchered in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre still haunt these grounds.
Yeah, one of them drained the battery on my mic.
Dude, that is kind of a good point. I know you don't believe in ghosts, but that's something that happens in haunted places a lot. And I always make that joke that I'm like, oh shit, I hope that doesn't happen to me. But these mics were all charged up before I left.
Yeah.
So I don't know why yours would be. I check that every time. I don't know why your battery died. Because I charge them in my computer when I'm uploading the previous episodes. So that was charged this morning.
Nobody drained my mic 14 times.
I get it. It's because of, remember earlier? You remember when?
I had to do the 14 times because you were just giving me this look of what the fuck?
I thought you were going to be like, no one drained my mic, like I did something to it. And I was like, wait, what did you do?
Yeah, you sabotaged your own podcast.
Okay.
I need to take me down a peg.
Okay. So that's where we're at. It's said that spirits of many of the men who were butchered in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre still haunt these grounds, trying desperately to work through their own gruesome deaths. This, I imagine, psychologically.
Honestly, I think they're just trying to sell us cocaine.
I mean, no, we shouldn't. We shouldn't.
Look, I got a thing in the morning. I can't.
I got a thing.
I can't.
I gotta figure out that fucking child lock.
I can't do ghost coke tonight.
I can't. I want to. Believe me, I do. But listen, my mom listens to this. She'd be like, why don't you give it a shot? You know, go out there and live a little.
How often does a ghost offer you cocaine? You gotta...
This is what I'm saying. You need to embrace your life a little bit more. All right. Disembodied male voices and screams are frequently reported in this area. Could just be Clarence.
That's just me because I'm loud and
It's like, I hear it. Everyone on the criminal tour is like, I hear it.
It's just somebody playing a frustrating Mario Maker level. It's...
Of course, profound negative energy can be felt in this area by those sensitive enough to it, including animals, which is typical for any place in which such a brutal tragedy has occurred. This is now a senior housing facility, or there's now a senior housing facility located in this area.
They appreciate the visits from the ghosts because their grandchildren haven't been.
Yeah, they're like, glad you're here, Capone, because, funny thing,
Al Capone, did I ever tell you about how I met my wife?
And he's like, yes, you did.
But let me tell you again,
No one told me this story 14 times. Residents of the senior housing facility are no strangers to ghostly activity here. One woman living in the facility, probably that chick who came out earlier, would regularly encounter phantom gangsters in her room.
That's just the TV. It was on.
Get these gangsters out of my room.
It's actually Daniel Day-Lewis, and he put a lot of work into this role, so...
Get him out of here. Get this gangster out. She eventually became so upset that she had to be moved out. Facilitators chalked up her experience to dementia until another resident, an older gentleman who did not experience symptoms of dementia, corroborated her story by witnessing the phantom apparition of a man in traditional gangster garb, a fedora hat, and a double-breasted pinstripe suit.
That was just anybody who works at Men's Warehouse.
Not just anybody, someone in a pinstripe suit.
They were on sale.
Residents in the area sometimes claim... Oh my God, I swear I just thought I saw someone walk by right there. Residents in the area sometimes claim to hear the sounds of Tommy guns. Well, it's Chicago.
Yeah. Those were fireworks. It's July.
These reports happen as soon as 1 week following the massacre and persist to this day. But the hauntings don't just stop there. One of the men who was killed in the massacre was a low-level mobster from Bugs's gang named James Clark. In fact, James was Bugs Moran's brother-in-law.
Weird. James Clark.
Weird. While it's speculated that some of the spirits of the men massacred on that fateful Valentine's Day linger in this area, some believe the spirit of James Jimmy Clark, in fact, followed Al Capone.
Ooh. So how snorky did Jimmy get?
Oh, he snorked it up. I'll tell you what.
Over there's Jimmy the Snork.
They call him Snork. No, they called Capone Snorky, so they probably can't call Jimmy that.
No, they gotta call him Jimmy the Snork. He's haunting Al Capone.
He's snorking the snork.
That's right. You can't
snork the snork.
You gotta snork the snork.
You gotta?
How do you outsnork the snork? You gotta snork the snork.
You gotta give it a shot. For a few months following the attack, Al Capone laid low in Florida before returning to Chicago in May of 1929.
Hey, do you think when he was in Florida he went snorkeling?
I think he made a living snorkeling in Florida.
Because I made that joke, I have to pay higher taxes now.
All right, so he comes back to Chicago in May of 1929, and then he realizes that he is public enemy number one, and there's a lot of heat on him. So in an effort to escape charges related to the murders, Capone skipped town to Philadelphia, where it's believed that he intentionally picked up some concealed weapons charges. All right, the idea is that he purposefully got himself incarcerated in the Eastern State Penitentiary to stay out of the public eye for some time to lessen the attention placed on him.
And then while he was in jail, he joined the Latin Kings.
That's not true. The prison cell Capone enjoyed in the Eastern State Penitentiary was nothing short of luxurious for a prison stay. You can see pictures of it online. It looks like an apartment.
Oh, were they whipping the Lex in that prison cell?
Yeah, his cell was comfortably outfitted with a desk, an armchair, a radio, and many other provisions and amenities.
And he had an Xbox.
Yeah. He was even granted the privilege of eating private meals and given the opportunity to conduct business while incarcerated.
Now, is this business or air quotes business?
It's air quotes business.
Yes.
Yeah. It's snorky business. He was doing his snorking.
Hold on. Snorky business?
But yeah.
I'm pretty sure your mom listens to this.
Yeah. What's wrong with snorky business?
I'm just saying it's a little
racist.
No, I'm going the sexual route.
Oh,
they were doing
thinking of porking.
Yeah, they were doing snorky business over there.
I don't think they let him do that kind of snorky business.
You know, Veronica and I, we got down to some snorky business.
We went down to Snorky Town?
That's right. Won't you take me
We moved right in.
Snorky Town?
However, no matter how luxurious law enforcement intended to make his 9-month stay in Eastern State Penitentiary, Capone found himself being harassed by a menacing phantom who he insisted was James Clark. Inmates could hear Al Capone howling in turmoil, screaming and begging for Jimmy to go away. This was only the beginning of what would be a lifelong haunting for Capone.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Jimmy Clark was in this little, like, doll, a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah. Many years after the St. Valentine's Day massacre, when the IRS took Capone down for tax evasion, he would become one of Alcatraz prison's earliest prisoners. After a brief stay in the U.S. penitentiary in Atlanta, where Capone was diagnosed with syphilis during a medical examination. As it turns out...
He was getting a little bit too snorky.
Yeah, he snorked a little too hard on that one. As it turns out, snorkelous.
He uncorked the snork.
As it turns out, he had obtained the disease while working as a bouncer in a brothel at age 20. Capone was later transported to Alcatraz. As you do. Capone was later transported to Alcatraz in August of 1934. During his stay in Alcatraz, Capone began showing symptoms of his disease, including dementia. Prison doctors began treating him with malaria injections, hoping that the fevers caused by malaria would wipe out the syphilis.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we can have these two diseases fight each other.
Well, that's what they... Believe it or not, this treatment almost proved to be fatal.
Now, Alcatraz, that's a level in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. So, apparently, that's why it had a prison theme.
23.
That's why it had a prison theme. Yeah. So, I think there's 23 goals to unlock. So,
is there?
I don't know. Oh. I don't know the number of goals per level.
I don't know. I don't know what you know.
I just know it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that. I never played that. I think my brothers played the first one.
I'm one of those people whose taste in music was shaped by Tony Hawk games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of those people. Meanwhile, Capone was so tormented by who he claimed was the ghost of Jimmy Clark that in 1931, he called in a medium named Alice Britt.
The Long Island medium.
And she was like, okay, honey.
I'm sensing a G name or a J, a G or a J.
Is it a T? Is it a B? Is it a snork? Is it a walk?
It's a father or an uncle or a grandfather or
a male, someone that you know who's a male, a post office worker.
You know what? It might have been a woman.
You know what? Maybe it's a woman. All right. So Capone asks a medium named Alice Britt to help him ascertain what Jimmy might want and how to get him to leave. Her efforts were ultimately unsuccessful to free Capone from his torment. At one point, Capone's valet, Jaime Cornish, claims to have witnessed a similar spirit too. He allegedly saw a tall man in the lounge of Capone's apartment holding a machine gun similar to what was used to execute him, who slipped away behind a curtain and disappeared. Capone insisted that this was the spirit of Jimmy Clark.
It was Will Chamberlain.
Finally, in January of 1939, Capone was released from Alcatraz and transferred to the Federal Correction Institution at Terminal Island near Los Angeles to serve his remaining 1-year misdemeanor sentence.
Hang on, Terminal Island?
I know.
That sounds like what the fun cancer doctor uses to give you you're taking a trip to Terminal Island.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, you're putting me down though. That's such a mean thing to say.
Sir, that is not the way to give me that news.
It's totally not. Or if it's just like you found out something's terminal, pack your bags, buddy. You're taking a trip to Terminal Island.
It's a one-way trip to Terminal Island.
All right. He went on to live out the rest of his days in Florida with his family. In the 1940s, Capone would become one of the first civilians to receive penicillin for syphilis, but it was too late to cure him. They gave him too much malaria first.
It's a damn shame. Turns out, penicillin was if you get syphilis.
Yeah.
Remember, penicillin good, malaria bad.
Which, again, it's not crazy. It's only crazy if it doesn't work.
It's actually written on my hand. Penicillin good, malaria bad.
Yeah, good. In January of 1947, Capone suffered a stroke and came down with pneumonia until ultimately dying in his family home of cardiac arrest in Florida on January 25th at the age of 48. At the height of his power, Al Scarface Capone employed over 1,000 gunmen and had up to half of the city's police force on his payroll.
I'm sorry, what was his name?
Al Snorkface Capone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Until his dying day, Capone remained ruthlessly tormented by who he insisted was the ghost of Jimmy Clark. It's hotly debated whether the notorious gangster was truly haunted by Jimmy or if he simply experienced Jimmy as a persisting hallucination while his brain deteriorated as a symptom of his illness.
All that malaria.
It's all the malaria and the syphilis will get you.
Syphilaria.
The snork got snorked.
Malarious.
Some even insist that he was haunted by his own guilt and that Jimmy personified this for Capone. Probably.
Yeah, nah, bullshit. That's only in horror movies.
The truth may lie somewhere in the middle.
You know what he needed was some teenagers in a van with their dog, and they.
Are you talking about Scooby-Dooby-Doo?
No, because that's trademarked. So I don't know if we're legally allowed to talk about that, but those teenagers with that dog in the van
Down by the river.
Yeah, would be able to take the ghost of Jimmy Clark's mask off and prove that that's just old man Wilson who owns the farm. He was tired of
He needed
kids
walking.
Yeah, and he was tired of like kids coming to his farm to hang out, and not walking him.
Yeah, because that is honestly rude.
Remember, walk your grandparents. If nothing else.
Your grandparents need to be walked.
Penicillin good, malaria bad. Walk your elders.
Walk your elders. Clean up after your elders, please. Take a bag with you.
Oh yeah, if you don't clean up after them, you are the worst.
Yeah. Don't you just hate it when an old person takes a shit in your yard and nobody?
I mean, it's not their fault. They don't know better. But like, if you're walking your grandfather,
they don't know better. Oh my God. That nice couple that was just talking to us.
Oh, they were very, they know better.
They knew, yeah.
They know better.
I didn't see your shit anywhere inappropriately, did you?
No, I didn't.
She only took appropriate shits out here. I hope you had so much fun exploring the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre with me and Adam. Be sure to find Adam Kwaselow on Twitter and Instagram with the handle @Kwaselow. That's at KWASELOW. While you're at it, check us out on social media too. You can find us with the handle @LitDarkPodcast. That's at LITDARK Podcast. Or visit our website at litdarkpodcast.com to see what's new, check out our merch items, or just say hello using our Contact Us form. I love it when you guys say hello. Special thanks for this episode goes to my producer, Randall Lawrence in Cranival Studios, Jonathan Cooper, my graphic designer, Sarah Schneider, my manager, and of course, all of you for listening. I'll see you next week right here on Laughing in the Dark.
Sources used for episode 15 of Laughing in the Dark include hauntedhouses.com, umich.edu, fbi.gov, cuttingedgehauntinghouse.com, the History Channel website, Wikipedia, WBEZ 91.5 Chicago, ancientorigins.net, and ghostseers.com.
Laughing in the Dark is brought to you in part by Heck Yeah Studio. Heck Yeah Studio is a creative effort working with people to create meaningful things. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with clients to turn their ideas or existing brands into real or better versions. Heck Yeah Studio is the place to go for custom illustration for a full range of branding services, like killer logos, great colors and typography, and fun illustrations for pins, signs, prints, shirts, vehicles, posters, or anything you can imagine. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with love. Their dream client is someone who is passionate about what they do. At Laughing in the Dark, Heck Yeah Studio has designed our logo, all of our merch, and any posters or stickers that we have. I am so proud and lucky to work with such an awesome company, and I could not recommend them higher.
Studios.